go.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Football. I'm your host as always, Gerardo, accompanied by Tomas. We just got finished watching the first match week of the Premier League. A lot of interesting matchups, but before we get into it, make sure you guys follow Football on all social media platforms. Make sure to download us on Spotify and check out our YouTube channel as well. And support your small creators because together we're going to make it big. Tomas, how are you doing today after watching the Premier League?
Feeling fine, bro. Feeling like I just drank a Red Bull like Jimmy Vardy, bro.
It's good to finally have some football back. I mean, there was a little bit of breaks. We had some cup matches, but now the Premier League back, the most important league in the world, the best league in the world, which is arguable to a lot of people. But, I mean, it's finally back, and we're going to talk about our predictions. We're going to talk about the games that we saw over the weekend. So let's just get right into it. Manchester United versus Fulham was the game that opened up the Premier League in a 1-0 win for Manchester United, and they looked pretty decent. And I understand, and we were discussing this off camera, that this was just Fulham. Like I said, I know a lot of people think it's just Fulham, but I mean, you have to start the Premier League in the best way possible. And I mean, what a way as well to get it started for Xerxes, too, a 23-year-old from Bologna who came in from the Serie A. He played a crucial role for Bologna in getting them into the Champions League. Manchester United bought him for a decent price, and I mean, he scored the game winner, making it 1-0, and they got the 3 points, which was the most important. And they probably could have had 3, 4, 5 goals. Fulham could have gotten at least like 2, 3 goals as well. But that was the first Premier League match, and I thought it was an interesting matchup to watch. I don't know what you make of it, and what did you think of Manchester?
I mean, honestly, I wasn't too surprised by Manchester United. Like, that's how they usually play. I wasn't too surprised by the result. I mean, if you're comparing it to how Manchester United ended up 8th last season, it feels like a mid-table battle. So it is what it is. You know, Manchester United barely scraped by, which is what I honestly expected, because although they do create a lot of opportunities and they slightly maintain more possession than Fulham, they're just not impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that they don't create chances. They just can't find the end of it.
They can't capitalize it.
Yeah.
So maybe with the likes of this new kid, Xerxes, maybe he could bring a little bit of a finishing touch that they need, because Højlund, I mean, he's still a raw product, you know, and he just got recently injured, so who knows how long he's going to be out. So they definitely could use someone like Xerxes, because you saw them create a lot of opportunities with Bruno Fernandes. He was playing like this false 9 position, but I mean, he had like 3, 4 chances to score the first goal if he wanted to, but he just didn't. He's not a striker. He's not a national striker. So someone like Joshua Xerxes, he describes himself as a 9.5. He's not a 9 or a 10. Kind of just plays in between, sort of like a false 9. And I mean, that's how he created the goal for himself, and that's how he's ended the goal for himself too. So I thought Manchester United were somewhat impressive. Now, moving forward to the next game, which was an early matchup, at least on our side, 4:30 in the morning. I watched some of it. I'm not going to lie. I didn't watch the whole game because, like I said, it was at 4:30 in the morning. Ipswich versus Liverpool. I'm only throwing this one in because Liverpool, of course, they're always going to be fighting for top 4, top 6. So we have to talk about Liverpool at least. With Jota, with Diego, with Mohamed Salah getting on the score sheet in the 60th and 65th minute. And a newly promoted Ipswich Town, I think the last time they were in the Premier League was like over 20 years ago or something like that. So it's good to see them back in the Prem. It's good to see Liverpool starting on the right foot, because you want Liverpool to start on the right foot. That way they can put as much pressure in the title race as early as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I completely get why you put them in here, but it wasn't an exciting match. It was Liverpool doing what they do versus a team that barely came from the second division, and I mean, that's the result. I honestly think Liverpool should have won by a higher margin, or at least dominated a bit more. They weren't too impressive for me.
Yeah, Ipswich weren't that bad, especially in the first half. I saw them have a little bit, or try to do something at least a little bit more impressive. I mean, comparing the other teams that were promoted this season. So I think they have an interesting setup, but will it be enough to keep them up? We'll see down the line. But Liverpool, of course, like I said, we had to talk about them, just bring them up, because I like the fact that they got Ryan Gravenberch in the midfield. I think that's going to help them definitely in their midfield struggles, because you have McAllister in the midfield too. Dominic Szoboszlai is the attack midfielder. You got Luis Diaz, Mohamed Salah, and Diogo Jota up top. They have a good squad. Overall, they have a title contending squad, but do they have enough depth to get them all the way up until like the 30th, 30th game, in the Premier League. I don't know about that. At least
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens.
And then Arsenal versus Wolves, a 2-0 result for Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal doing what they do, just how Liverpool did what they did against Ipswich. Arsenal are their consistent squad. They haven't really brought in any new signings besides Calafiori, who I think he did get some game time. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check that. But I mean, it's not going to really add anything to them up front. I think what they really needed was a killer, and I think that's something that all Arsenal fans can agree is that they need that number 9 that's just a little bit different to Kai Havertz, someone that will consistently bang in goals for you. And while Kai Havertz did get his goal today in the first 25 minutes of the game, and Bukayo Saka, who's fighting for probably being one of the best right wingers in the league, the best right winger in the league with Mohamed Salah, he got his goal too. Like I said, Arsenal just did what they have to do.
I think Arsenal signing Calafiori over a center forward is actually better, because where have Arsenal been in what position have Arsenal ended up in these past 2 Premier League seasons? Has been second,
yeah.
And it's always due to they receive a lot as much as they score. Like they'll win games 3-2 or 4-3 or 4-2. It's always a high scoring game. They're defensively not the poorest, but also not where they should be on a team that's consistently making it to these instances where they have an opportunity to win the Premier League, where they're in first place and they end up choking. We know that story,
and we know. I believe he's definitely an upgrade to what Zinchenko has, or at least he can push Zinchenko to be less comfortable in that position. They can fight for starting to who's going to start first. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then Arsenal this past season didn't lose to Man City. They won one title, and they won at home 1-0 if I'm not incorrect. And they tied 0-0. And with a team that Manchester City have to tie 0-0 at the Etihad is, it's pretty impressive, to be honest. Not a lot of teams are able to scrape by with the tie. So I think it's a good signing. I think Arsenal don't need a lot of maintenance. The players that they have are pretty young, so it's players that you could wait a bit out on. Like Kai Havertz, he's still not too old. Martinelli is not old at all. Bukayo Saka is not old at all. So offensively, it's like I like this offense. It's to what City used to play with when they wouldn't play with the true 9 a couple years back, and it was effective for them to win like 2 to 3 Premier League titles. It's a system which Mikel Arteta, when he was there, that he used at City. So it's not, how would I say, it's not ineffective. It's a possibility.
It's like what they say: if it's not broken,
don't fix it.
Don't fix it. Because
what have Arsenal fans wanted in the past? When Arsene Wenger was there, they were like, "Oh, we're always in fourth. We never go past fourth." I think it was like 2 to 3 seasons landing in fourth, and then Arsene Wenger leaves, and now they're mid-table. They're fighting to get into the top 6. Now Arteta's here. They get second. Obviously, you want to win it. But you have to remember, you're in
bro.
It's hard. Yeah, but you just have to remember, Arsenal, you're in a position where you prayed so long to be in, where you're at least in Champions League ball, where you're doing good stuff in Champions League, even if you're not the best yet, because obviously you need 2 to 3, 4 seasons in Champions League to be able to get used to that style of play. We've seen it before. So, it's not. I think it's a good move to sign Calafiori over a center forward, but I could be wrong.
And then I know they're also linked with Mikel Merino, another midfielder.
To
me, I think it would make more sense to also sign a forward, at least someone that can compete with Kai Havertz up top, besides Gabriel Jesus, someone that's
goals. But if we look into the world of football, the true 9 is so scarce.
It's rare right now.
I could only think of one, and that's probably Santi Jimenez. He's probably the best center forward in Eredivisie. Other than that, there's not a lot of quality center forwards that are up and coming. So we'll see what happens with Arsenal, but for now, I think Arteta's holding on to that. So we'll see how it works out for them.
And then my favorite matchup, or one of my favorite matchups, was Villa versus West Ham. I mean, Villa, who secured Champions League football. West Ham, who made some impressive signings over the summer window with the likes of Fulkrug, Somerville, Guido Rodriguez, Jean-Claire Todibo. I may
Didn't
be
they also,
missing one or two more.
didn't they also get the left back from Manchester United?
Wan-Bissaka, the right back. He's there.
Wan-Bissaka. Oh, right back.
Wan-Bissaka,
My bad.
who-
Right
And I
back.
feel like I'm missing one more like big signing, but that's just off the top of my head. That ones I could think of. But honestly, they weren't all that impressive compared to Villa, bro. Villa, like we've seen under Unai Emery, they're a different machine, and they brought in the likes of Amadou Onana from Everton, and he got on the score sheet. Duran got on the score sheet as well, and it's funny because Duran, I think he's been linked with West Ham because I think there was like an Instagram live video that he was on, and he even did like this hammer sign like this.
Yeah.
So I think he wanted to push for that move to West Ham, but he ends up staying against Villa. He gets the winner against West Ham,
I West Ham, yeah.
and they won the game 2-1 at West Ham. So overall, I think Villa are still gonna keep up on what they did last year for sure. Because I mean, they added, not only did they still keep a good base of their squad, but they added just more firepower. And my favorite one is Fulkrug to. Oh wait, no, I'm talking about West Ham. Sorry, I'm talking about Villa. My bad. Villa added more firepower with Onana, and I think he's just an overall round strike. I mean, midfielder, well-rounded midfielder.
Yeah. I mean, what really helped West Ham, I mean, not West Ham, what really helped Aston Villa was that they got that early goal. It puts the pressure on West Ham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, West Ham going forward, opening up a little bit more. And they do end up getting that penalty late in the first half. So Paquetá puts it away, and it goes back to how the game was. And the funny thing is that West Ham was being a little bit more offensive, and they get the goal, they tie, they go back to being a little bit conservative, and Aston Villa scores the winner again. So they go up again. I'm sorry, but I mean, this game was probably the most, how would I say, leveled game of this week.
Mm-hmm.
And it proves why Aston Villa is a strong team, because although West Ham has strong signings who haven't gotten used to the Prem, they're still in that transition. But the quality that West Ham has signed and they played versus Aston Villa is, I mean, they've had the best transfer window this season. We know that.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's pretty impressive that Villa was able to get it done. I don't know if they'll be able to get it done in the second leg of the season, but I mean, this was a pretty impressive game for me.
Now, another talked about game, and I think the most watched game would be Chelsea versus Man City, because everybody wants to watch the reigning champions, and Chelsea, who had a very interesting summer window as well. I mean, they signed everybody that they can, honestly, in the transfer window, and we saw the likes of Savinho get the start, who a lot of people were talking about because he made that move from Girona, and he's honestly a proper baller, a proper Brazilian style baller that I think someone like Man City definitely leads. Someone less robotic than the likes of like Jack Grealish, and maybe someone that adds a little bit of a finishing product compared to Jeremy Doku too, who did get the start too. And then a lot of people wanted to watch Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, but I mean, Manchester City, like I mentioned earlier, they're just a machine, bro. Like you really can't stop them. And even though they didn't look all that great against Chelsea, they were still able to get 2 goals and get the job done. Get it wrapped up.
To be honest, when I was watching the game, I felt like I was watching a movie that I already knew the ending to. Like, I already knew how this was gonna end. I didn't need to watch the rest of it, but it just, I mean, Haaland reaches 91 goals in 100 games for City, so
that shit's crazy, bro. Like, if you really think about it, 100 games, 91 goals, it's, I mean, to be so consistent, and even though I think he had like 3-4 touches in the whole and
he had 2 shots on goal, and I mean, one of them was a clean save from the Chelsea goalkeeper. I forgot his name.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one was obviously a finish.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's insane. He's a crazy player. I mean, Savinho too. Shout out to Savinho. He had Cucurella on skates. I mean, it's like, let's talk about the animosity before the game though, because they had that song in the Euros. like Cucureya. The Haaland was Haaland tiembla. The Haaland shakes when he sees Cucureya.
Mhm.
So that was also a big point to watch this game if you like the banter. But I mean, it was a good game for City overall.
I think what stuck out to me, what was funny too, I think there was a point where Kukureya he tries to grab Holland. I think this might have been either before or after the goal. I don't remember. But he tries to defend him. He falls and he kind of had like a little hamstring injury. He started
Yeah,
asking for Holland's help and he just kind of looks at him and starts laughing.
yeah, it was definitely all over TikTok, all over Twitter. But what
Yeah.
also sticks out to me, let's go to the second goal. Kovacic dribbles past two, how would I say, midfielders who just don't want to defend, don't know how to defend, don't like to defend or
Bro,
whatever it is.
the
He's just
narrative
scrolling through the midfield.
the narrative behind that goal too. I mean, he dribbled past Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo.
He shoots over Caicedo.
Yeah, like bro, I mean, two players who together are probably like almost 200 million pounds.
Like
Something.
250 million pounds.
Yeah, like and they were technically brought in as a replacement for Kovacic, who left for like 25, 30 million, nothing spectacular. And on the day, I mean, he had a masterclass subbing in for Rodri, who's injured right now. But I mean, if Kovacic is going to be playing like that, I mean, dude, I mean, that's just horrible business from Chelsea's side.
Man, think about it. This is Rodri's bench player. This is their backup six because they were looking for a backup six in this transfer window. You know, I think they conserved their money a bit. Went for a winger, which Pep always likes to go for wingers for some reason. And you know, they tried out Kovacic, and I mean, he's proved to have a good opening game. Hopefully, he could keep it up for the rest of the season. But the fact that I wonder what Chelsea's management is looking like right now. Like they're like, we let this player go for 25, 30 million, and we have these two fuckheads who we paid 200 these two fucking 250 million euros. Because when Enzo plays for Argentina, I swear I see like De Bruyne. And when Caicedo plays for Ecuador, I swear I see like a prime, I don't know, like a prime Xavi, bro. And it's just, they come back to Chelsea and it's like they forget how to play football.
It's just the structure of the club, bro. Everything's a mess at Chelsea. I mean, everybody can tell you that. And I think what kind of sums it up after overall is when they get the second goal scored on them. So Kovacic scores in the 84th minute, and then Todd Bowley, who's one of the minority or majority owners of Chelsea, one of the owners at Chelsea, right? He's the one that's spending all the big bills, bringing in all the players, and he gets up and leaves. The game hasn't even ended, bro. He just gets out. You know, and I saw tweets, people saying like, "Oh, now he's gonna go buy Pelé, Maradona." He's gonna start on another shopping spree, trying to get in players to fill in for those positions.
It's because you can't spend this much money on promising players. You can't spend 100 million on a player that you don't know is gonna give you your best result. You get me? Which has been the downfall of the Prem because Manchester United goes out and spends 100 million on Anthony because he has one stellar season at Ajax or 1.5. And now, how is Anthony worth 100 million? How is Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez worth 250 million? It's not the case. You can't spend this much money on players like this because you don't know what they're really truly able to do.
Yeah, you have to give them a few more years at least. You know, consistent years, and then maybe you can be like, okay, $100 million player. I mean, that's what we saw with Neymar, right? He had a consistency that we haven't seen from any other player for a while. And then PSG comes in paying 222 million for him, which okay, that's understandable. He was probably one of the best players besides Messi at that moment. But you're talking about Moises Caicedo, you're talking about Anthony, Enzo Fernandez, who are good players, but they're not Neymar. So
they're nowhere near Neymar. They're nowhere near Messi or Ronaldo. They're nowhere near
nothing worth that fucking price tag, bro. Nothing worth 100 million.
No,
not even 60, bro.
Not even 60 million. I think 40 from 35 to 40 would be a good prices, but good price tag for these two players. Because if Chelsea were to sell Enzo and Caicedo right now, that's probably the price tag they'd be selling them at, like 25, 30 million.
Yeah.
Because nobody is gonna buy these players off of their club performance.
Definitely. Now, obviously, City got the result. Now moving on to the last game that actually just ended about an hour and a half ago. Leicester versus Tottenham, and I think this is the one I was mostly looking forward to, just because I wanted to see Jamie Vardy, bro, and it reminded me of 2015, like just seeing Leicester face off Tottenham. And I know it's not the same Leicester squad that we saw back in 2015. It's a completely different squad. The only person that really is still there is Jamie Vardy at 38 years old. But I mean, we'll talk about what he did throughout the match. But like I said, this was a game that I was excited to see, especially Tottenham too, because Ange Postecoglou, before the match, he was chiding his shit, and he said that he tends to win titles in the second season. So I wanted to see how Tottenham would maybe they put up a good performance. And I mean, the first half, honestly, they were all over Leicester. Leicester didn't want to play. They couldn't even maintain any possession. But Tottenham, they got the goal, and they could have gotten 2, maybe even 3, but they're just not consistent enough up front. And you would think that they'd be a little bit more punishing, bringing in the likes of Dominic Solanke, who got like 19 goals last year. But they only got that one goal. They weren't able to put Leicester away, and then we saw what happened after. And you could talk about what happened after, bro.
Yeah, I mean, like, when you give Jamie Vardy those type of opportunities where nobody's guarding him, nobody's on top of him, or nobody's pressuring him even a little bit. Mm-hmm. Even I've seen this guy score a header, and he's not that tall. I've seen this guy score a header with 2 center backs on him. So you have to maintain your pressure on him, like at all times. And it's just like, oh, he's a 38-year-old Jamie Vardy. Well, yeah, but he can still score on you anytime, any given day.
He's still one of the best poachers the Premier League has probably ever seen.
Yeah, it's insane how this guy's able to get on the end of these goals. He's one of the best strikers of our generation, most underrated strikers for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just you guys had one job. Tottenham just had one thing to do: not let Jamie Vardy score.
Not let Jamie, and then maybe just score one more goal, bro. Because like you said, they had so many opportunities to score 2 or 3 at least, but they didn't put Leicester away. And to be fair, I mean, Leicester did. I don't want to say they deserved to lose, but they definitely didn't deserve. Well, actually, they did deserve to lose. I mean, Tottenham were the better team. It's just, like I said, they didn't put him away, and Leicester with that one opportunity that fell right onto Jamie Vardy's head all alone. I mean, how is he gonna miss that from like 6 yards out, bro? Yeah. And I think that my favorite part is just his reaction after all his antics that come with Jamie Vardy. We already know that he's a very controversial player, that he just does not care. And I think that's why a lot of people love him. He's just that kind of player that will speak the truth. I mean, I think it was at halftime, right, when he was drinking his Red Bull.
Yeah,
the iconic Red Bull, bro. Everybody knows that he loves drinking that before and during the matches. And then, showing off to the fans and to Guti Romero, talking just mad shit to him, telling him to F off, showing his Premier League badge, saying that he's won one, and telling the Leicester fans the Tottenham fans they won nothing. I mean, that is just proper Vardy ball, bro.
Proper. I mean, I just remember him fucking breaking the LGBTQ flag and not even apologizing. I mean, this guy's he's just him, bro.
He doesn't care, and I think like I said, that's why a lot of people respect him for that he just doesn't care. Like, he'll kind of guy to stick it to the man. But I mean, we'll see how far Leicester can go, because off of the performance, I mean, when they play Manchester City, when they play Aston Villa, when they play Arsenal, I mean, I feel like those teams will get at least like 3 to 4 goals against them, and Jamie Vardy can't do it all by himself. And to be fair, he looked like he was all by himself, though.
I just hope they're able to maintain themselves at least in the Prem, because I feel like Leicester is one of those teams that you want in the Prem at all times.
Definitely. Now, just to end things off, we're going to give a little bit of our top 6 predictions. We're going to start with 6th and then all the way to our champion in first. So, Tomas, I'll let you go first, and then I'll give him my prediction, then we'll kind of talk about it and then just wrap things up right there.
All right. At 6, I got Tottenham, just because they play well. Don't get me wrong. I like how they play, but I feel like their biggest downfall is finishing. And I feel like in the Prem, that's one of the things that you really, really need, to have a good striker up top. Because if you don't have a good striker up top, I mean, the Prem is one of the highest scoring leagues in the world, and you're going to get scored on.
Yeah. So that's why they brought in Dominic Solanke, though. He was a baller last year with Bournemouth.
I'm just basing it off this game, and I don't see how they're going to be able to score consistently, every game when they're down 2-0 to City. Like, how are they going to come back?
Yeah.
It's just I mean, it's one of those things where it's difficult to judge, obviously, early on in the season. But at least for me right now, I don't see it. I don't see how they're going to be able to make it past 6. I like them at 6 because I don't think there's really anybody under them that's able to give them a run for their money because of how well they play.
Mhm.
So now I'm gonna go to 5th, which is Chelsea. I like Chelsea in some instances, not overall, but in some instances, I mean, they're not a bad club. They have some irregularities. Their players aren't the best, but I feel like Cole Palmer is just maybe he can do something with them. He's fucking cold. He's when they need him the most, he's usually there. He tried to do something versus City. He got a couple opportunities going forward. I mean, was he the one that crossed it on the offside goal?
I don't remember.
I think he might have been. I know he was involved in the play at least, but it's just he can't do it all alone. But I feel like it's also unfair to judge Chelsea over the whole season just because of their game versus Man City.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it is unfair. And losing 2-0 to Man City isn't, how would I say? It isn't devastating. Man City is the bigger team. Man City is supposed to beat you.
Yeah.
Man City is supposed to win like 9 times out of 10 at least. Yes, you're at home, but I mean, it's just Pep has studied this Chelsea team. He knows how they play. He's played them since 2016, so he knows the players that they brought in, the players that they took out. And I mean, Pep is a freak show, so he studies every little detail of every little team, and it's come to bite him in the butt sometimes. But I mean, in this instance, it looks like it helped them. So for me, at least, Chelsea's 5th because they are as although they're not in their best moment, I still don't think that they're worse than a lot of the teams in the Prem.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I will go with Liverpool 4th, not because Liverpool is bad, but I just feel like Aston Villa is really impressive. So obviously, I'm putting Aston Villa 3rd. And well, Liverpool has brought in a new coach, so first he has to adjust to the Prem. You can't really be hard on him because the Prem is a completely different monster of a league to the Eredivisie. So
definitely.
Give him time to adjust. I mean, what's his name? The Man United coach,
Ten Hag.
I mean, he hasn't even been able to have a successful Premier League run, and he's been here for, is this his 3rd year?
He is his 3rd year.
So I mean, you have to go out of this slot sometimes to get used to this league, to be able to develop his players that he wants to, and to, Liverpool has to open up their bank account a bit, bring players that he had in his old team who would like to make that jump to the Premier League, who he thinks would make a big impact in the Prem.
Mm-hmm.
Now Aston Villa 3rd because I think Aston Villa is going to be better than last season. I mean, they've shown us consistently in these past 2 years how they've been able to grow as a team.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And I mean, with Unai Emery at the front, the experience that this man has, I mean, just playing the elite of football, it really shows you how he's been able to take all of his experience and implement it well into his team. Beating a team like West Ham, especially this West Ham team, isn't easy. They have solid players. They have a solid defense. I mean, their midfield is pretty good with Paquetá and Edson Alvarez. Obviously, Paquetá being more offensive, and Edson Alvarez more of a holding mid. But overall, looking into the depth of this league, obviously Edson Alvarez didn't play this season, but when he comes back, I feel like Aston Villa is pretty impressive.
Hmm.
That's the cause for why, for me, they go 3rd.
Especially away too. Think about it; they're playing away from home.
Yeah, I mean, it was difficult for them, so they were able to get it done, and not in the most impressive way, but still just being able to get it done away. You have to win however you can. It's not just everybody wants to win 4-0, 5-0, but when you play away, it's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for me, 2nd, I'd go Arsenal because to me it looks like they're able to maintain their form from last season. They beat Wolves. They play well. They touch the ball nicely. They build up forward very well. they still have a young front three with Saka, Kai Havertz, and Martinelli. And I mean, they're adding the Italian Cagliafiori, and I feel like that's in a position where it could be where it's really reinforced because they have a player there who's actually fairly decent. So we'll see how that helps them out going into the depths of the season. And then for me, the winner is Manchester City because I mean I don't really have a lot to say. They're that team.
Yeah.
I mean adding Savinho into that squad. I mean Savinho he's the last Brazilian hope, the great Brazilian hope. I mean he's the only Brazilian in Europe that I see him doing that joga bonito, the classic Brazilian style that we're used to.
Mhm.
And for me, that's quite impressive. I mean, you added that with Pep's possession based, and the thing with Savinho is he's not a ball hog. You know, he'll take 2 to 3 players, let the ball go. He's fairly simple, obviously with that little Brazilian spark, and I really like that in him. So adding that with the striker like Haaland, who has 91 goals in 100 games, you know, some crazy stat.
It definitely makes City a little bit more unpredictable for sure.
Yeah, for sure, and that's what Pep looks for when he buys wingers. You know, just quite unpredictable. You don't know what the winger going to do. Yes, we're missing, or they're missing a replacement for a player like Riyad Mahrez, who was able to do these things. You know, have a crazy touch off of his first touch, whether you're passing the ball 5 yards away or 30 yards away. I mean, his touch was insane. Being able to dribble to 2, 3 players and finish. I mean, he's obviously looking for that replacement, which is difficult for a player like Riyad Mahrez. But I mean, you know, in due time, I mean, I feel like Savinho is the closest thing that City's had to Riyad Mahrez in a while. So
Now,
for me, that's it.
For my predictions, I'm going to go Manchester United 6. And I know that one's a little controversial. We were discussing that off camera too. And I think I like what they're doing this year just based off what I've seen in preseason and then the first match. But we're mainly just basing on what we saw in this first match, right? And they looked fairly good against Fulham. They're bringing in some good players. There's still talks of other players coming in and other players leaving, of course. I think they could just sneak in there because they weren't that far off last year. Because I don't have Chelsea up in that mix, which is because I think they're in shambles right now, and I think they're off their boardroom problems and everything that's going on in this summer. It's gonna leak somehow into the dressing room. West Ham, I have them in at 5th. That's also based off of the summer transfer window. You know, bringing in the likes of Fulkrug, some of all the players that I mentioned earlier, and already adding it to a somewhat consistent squad. And they did it well last season. I think they will capitalize off of that. I think they can definitely finish in 5th. Yes, they lost to Villa, but Villa are probably one of the best teams in the Premier League for sure. They're going to be fighting with all the best teams like City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. So that's why I have Villa in 4th. You know, finishing 4th again, getting into Champions League football. I know this year they are in the Champions League, so they're going to be also focused in that. But I think they have enough quality to definitely be putting up consistent results in every competition that they play in. Now, when we get to top 3, I know it's so difficult to predict. Arsenal, I'm going to have them in 3rd this time around. And I know they've been getting second, constantly getting second. And I know we were discussing this one off camera too, saying that Arsenal should be in second. I see them in 3rd only because I feel like this year maybe Liverpool can actually give them a run for their money. And that's why I have Liverpool in 2nd, just because I think that new manager bounce is going to be very important to a team like Liverpool because they have a good squad. You know, we know overall they've always had very important players: Mohamed Salah, Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota, Darwin Nunez off of the bench, Ryan Gravenberch, who's finally not injured, Andy Robertson coming back from injury to one of the best left backs in the league, Trent Alexander-Arnold, who maybe before he leaves to Real Madrid next season, if that's going to happen next season, he can put up some good numbers this year. I do like Liverpool for 2nd because I feel like they're just as scary as a City team, especially going away to Anfield. I mean, not a lot of teams can go get a result at Anfield, bro. And then City at 1st, obviously, because I think that's the safest bet to have City winning the league. Because last year I bet it against City and I mean, they won the league, so I'm not going to bet against them.
It's okay, bro. You can keep your money.
No, but it's true. It's a safe bet. City they're the best squad. And while they didn't have a crazy transfer window, I think they might bring in Gundogan again, based off reports. And I mean, when you bring in someone like Gundogan, and when you have players who are technically your bench to your starters like Kovacic and Rodri, who's injured, and they're playing the way they did, I mean, bro, you have an incredible squad depth that no one else really compares to. Not Liverpool, not Arsenal, not Villa, nobody else. So City, I think they have enough to compete in all fronts and definitely win the league for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the City team is just too good.
Yeah, they're special, and I think they can definitely go back to back. And I mean, we're gonna see something historic, bro. I mean, but this would be their third time in a row winning the champion.
No, I think it'd be fifth. I have to check that, but hold on, just give me a second.
That's insane, bro. This is like generational numbers. I mean, I think the last team to do something like that was Manchester United, but that was back in
like
in
the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, City, they're just a monster, bro. They're a monster at scouting players, producing players, letting go of players, when to let go of players. Like they're very smart in every way they do business. So incredibly smart business. We'll see what happens with the whole relegation and the rules, the financial rules that's been going on in the background. I know in 2025 they're finally going to reach that verdict, so it's possible they might get points taken off. Who knows how many? That's what a lot of people are talking about. So you never know.
I mean, if they go down, they're going to come up the next year. Obviously, the owners know the worth of this club now.
Mm-hmm.
No club that they purchase in the Prem is going to carry the. I mean, these past four Prems that they've won, the two Prems that they won before losing to Liverpool in 2019. I mean, there's just, whether you like it or not, there's no other team outside of the Big Six that would give you the recognition that City now has. I mean, you see the Etihad now is full the Etihad is full now every time City plays. Wherever City plays, everybody wants to watch now because of how attractive their style is. I mean, even when they play somebody, their fans are antsy. They don't want to see City anymore because they know the outcome of that. So these owners will probably stick with City unless there's a forced sale, but that's really nothing to do. I mean, you can't really force sell a club unless it's like a felony or something beyond football. But
yeah, that's why I'm gonna leave them at first, but I'm not gonna touch that. But anything else, I mean, like I said, it's just prediction, but anything can happen in the league. So it's one of the hardest leagues to actually come up with a solid prediction off of. Hey, but if we get these predictions, how about we make a bet? Like if we get like 3 out of these 6 predictions, we got to do something.
All right.
Is that solid? Is that like 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 6?
I don't know, bro. Last time I went to bet on here, you said you were gonna take me to Gaucho, and I'm still waiting.
I forgot the bet. What was the bet?
It was on an episode. I forgot which episode it was.
What's it? Because I do remember that too. I just don't remember what exactly we were betting on.
So I just remember I won.
What if you're the one that has to take me out, bro?
I remember I won and that you blocked me after.
Get out of here. Yeah. All right, well, this one then we have to. We'll clip it into a little clip, and we'll definitely hold each other accountable for this one. So, what are you saying? 3 out of 6, 4 out of 6, 2 out of 6. Like
whoever has the highest.
Whoever has the predictions right in the top 6.
Yeah, the most right in the top 6. Like let's say when you lose, you just take nothing, bro.
All right, we'll stick to it. Winner chooses the restaurant where they want to eat or food.
So I just think mine is quite safe, to be honest.
I think mine is pretty safe too. And the only risky one is
the only one I'm risking is Aston Villa finishing in 3rd over Liverpool in 4th. That's the only real risk because I do feel like Chelsea has a probability of finishing in 5th because of the name of the club. And Tottenham in 6th is like Tottenham in 6 just sounds like they just give me that aura. They just give me that feel. You know, Tottenham belongs in 6.
No. But, all right, let's wrap things up before my brother over here starts getting delusional. All right, thank you guys for listening to Charlafootball.